Everybody's got a price, it's the $1 million man. Podcast in demand. Understand, everybody's got a price. $1 million man. Everybody's got a price. $1 million man. Everybody's got a pod, it's the $1 million man. Podcast in demand. Understand, everybody's got a price. $1 million man. Everybody's got a price.
What's up, everybody? It's Marcus D'Angelo, and we are back for another episode of Everybody's Got a Pod. And of course, I am joined by WWE legend, Hall of Famer, a guy I just spent some time with out in Cleveland at WrestleCon. It's the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. What's going on, brother?
Hey, brother. It's everything's good.
Good.
Could be a little bit better, but another story for another day.
Hey, man, that's sometimes life gets in the way, but I mentioned it. It was really great to finally spend some time with you out there at WrestleCon.
Oh, yeah.
Breakfast and dinner together, and yeah, man, I couldn't have asked for a better experience. How was your experience at WrestleCon?
Yeah, it was cool.
Good.
And again, I had the opportunity to obviously make a little money, and that's always good, right? For the $1 Million Man, huh?
Absolutely. You got to spend some time with fans, make a little extra change for yourself and your family, and that's always a good thing. Plus, it was SummerSlam weekend out there. And so 30 years ago, it was SummerSlam in August. It would be later August, but that's what we're talking about is SummerSlam 1994 today. It's going to be your first SummerSlam with the company post-retirement. And, man, we've got a ton of notes to talk about. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump into them. Ted, when we last left off talking about 1994, you'd been trying to find The Undertaker, who had been missing from the WWF since the Royal Rumble. And in late May, we're going to get an apparent return from the dead man in our first clip. We're getting right into it this week, pal.
I've done it. He's mine. He is mine once again. Nobody believed that the $1 Million Man could produce The Undertaker. Everybody doubted me. Nobody thought that it could be done. But nobody else had the resources to do it. Everybody from here to Timbuktu has said they've seen The Undertaker. But nobody, including you, Paul Bearer, can produce him. You can't find him because he's mine once again. Remember, Shawn Michaels, I'm the one who brought The Undertaker to the World Wrestling Federation the first time, and I am the one who has brought him back. Hey. So without any further ado, as I promised, because I'm a man of my word, right here at the Heartbreak Hotel, I give you once again, from the dark side, The Undertaker.
All right. I wouldn't believe it unless I'd seen it with my own eyes. But you've done it. There. Congratulations. Nobody could do it but you.
That's right, Shawn Michaels. I said I'd produce him because I had the resources to do it, and he is mine once again. He is the property of the $1 Million Man. He is once again under the control of the $1 Million Man. And now, all you other wrestlers of the World Wrestling Federation and all you nickel and dime peons out there, pay very close attention because my Undertaker has something very important to say.
All right, this I have to hear.
There's nothing to fear but fear itself and the wrath of the Undertaker. Rest in peace.
All right. So the Undertaker is back, but he doesn't look quite right, does he, Ted?
No.
This is
everybody's like shocked, surprised, and then then they're going to get another surprise. So am I.
Man, it's they actually did a pretty good job there of making him look like the real Undertaker. That was Brian Lee, of course, who previously made his name in Memphis and Smoky Mountain Wrestling. Yeah. And they did a good job, and they actually used the Undertaker's voice as like a dub over for that to really kind of fool everybody.
Yeah.
But Ted, I don't know, man. The imposter Undertaker angle. What do you think looking back on it? Too cartoonish or good stuff?
I'm not sure. I mean, it was kind of like one of the most iconic characters in he's in the top 10. He may be in the top 5, of, well-known characters that the WWE put out. And
For sure.
he's definitely one of them. So yeah, for the people to have the opportunity to see him again is great. But this little twist that they did on this thing, is really cool, because as we're about to find out, when the real deal shows up, everybody just pops.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think the discerning wrestling fan, as a kid, you look at that and you say, like, well, that's The Undertaker. But some of the older fans, I think, at a glance would say, wait a minute, that doesn't look like The Undertaker.
Yeah.
And I don't know, man. It's like, I like the angle. A lot of fans, including a guy who does research for me, Andrew Hermis, I had told him that we were doing this episode. And he was like, oh, what a terrible angle. And I've heard that echoed by a lot of fans, bad angle. But to me, it's like, I think it's good angle, maybe not the right execution, because I don't know. It's to me, it's interesting.
Well, again, I guess the thing is, and I can see where some fans would say that. Because basically, and I won't try not to take anything away from the Fake Undertaker.
Mm-hmm.
But if he had more, you know what I'm saying? Ability, ring savvy, and what have you. If they could have legitimately put on some really good matches, I think that would have made the difference.
I agree with you.
I think that didn't happen for sure.
Brian Lee, he's a really big, impressive looking dude. But to your point, I don't know that he, you've got one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, probably the greatest big man of all time across the ring from him.
Yeah.
And he's expected to keep up. And I just don't know that he was there.
No.
Years later, things are going to be different with Glenn Jacobs as Kane kind of opposing The Undertaker as sort of like an alternate force, because Glenn can go. He's a great wrestler. So,
exactly.
Big difference. But yeah, so we're building towards SummerSlam, and of course, Undertaker versus Undertaker. And that also means, Ted, that you as a manager are on the opposite side of Paul Bearer. I hear all the time that he had a great sense of humor. What did you think of Percy as a performer, and do you have any memories of him?
Oh, he's a great guy, and a great individual, and he was very good at what he did. And what a lot of people don't know is that legitimately he was a mortician.
Yes.
Did you know that?
I did.
He had really been a mortician, so it was like none of that that graveyard stuff fooled him.
Yeah, I don't think anything was going to
he I think did such a great job of because if you talk to him, as he really is, and then you watch him do that what was his name?
Paul Bearer.
Paul Bearer, yeah. Percy Pringle. He's a good guy, very good guy.
I don't think I've ever heard anybody say a bad word about Percy. Everybody seems to really like him, and what a performer! You want to talk about committing to it's weird and it's silly. His name is Paul Bearer, and he looks like what's his name, Gomez or whoever from the Addams Family out there.
Like something right out of the Munsters.
Right, exactly. But he owned it, and he put his all into it, and what a pretty iconic character.
It was great.
Well, Ted, on the other channel, Hulk Hogan officially signed his contract with WCW, and they have a big ticker tape parade for him at Disney MGM in Orlando. And just for context, again, we're talking about the biggest star ever in wrestling, who has become a household name and a part of pop culture history at this point in his career. And now he's jumping ship to the competition. But you combine that with the fact that the upcoming King of the Ring pay-per-view is going to draw the lowest buy rate in the history of the WWF. It kind of has to feel like things are going off the rails a little bit.
Yeah. But I'll say it now, and I said it back then. I said, don't ever think that you are going to pull one on Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon is resilient. I would say this: what Vince really knows about wrestling in terms of finishes and all that kind of stuff, and whatever that's not Vince. He's not really a wrestler. What he is a extremely good marketer of his product.
Yep.
And if he's got to take a turn and go in another direction to do that, he'll do it, and he did it.
You were there for like the big shift in pro wrestling, where pro wrestling went from being kind of, as you've said before, sort of like the redheaded stepchild of the entertainment industry, to now it's the toast of the town whenever Hulkamania is going crazy, right? It's all over TV. It's bigger than it has ever been. It's reached an unprecedented level. Now coming out of that, Hulk Hogan has jumped ship. The numbers are way down. Things aren't going the way that they had been in previous years. It makes me wonder, Ted, from your perspective, did you feel like, okay, that was like an anomaly with Hulk Hogan? The party is over. Wrestling reached its peak, and now we're sliding back down? Or did you feel like it could reach the same peak again as it did with Hogan?
I'm not really sure. I didn't think that wrestling would ever go away again. And, it's like, but I mean, I don't care what you are, what other, anything that's in television programming, it has its ups and its downs and its in betweens. And I definitely think that, Hulk Hogan leaving the WWE and going to Turner was definitely, I think, a shocker for everybody. And obviously, it's kind of like the $1 Million Man says, everybody's got a price.
Ted, hypothetically, if you had received an offer from WCW at this time, 1994, were you contractually bound to the WWF in your new role as a manager or announcer, or could you have come and gone as you pleased?
I think you know what? I'm trying to think.
I want to say that anybody who is there with the WWF has signed something, even like a 90-day no compete or something, possibly.
Yeah. And I think the issue might have come up with my contract, and I didn't sign it. I don't know. I just can't remember.
No, that's okay. I just thought it was worth a shot.
Yeah, I don't know.
So, Ted, I mentioned at the King of the Ring, it's the lowest buy rate in the history of the company, and you are not part of the pay-per-view. I have to imagine that the two are related. But I did want to ask you about the main event. It's Roddy Piper versus Jerry Lawler. And this is significant because the WWF have been trying to position Hulk Hogan on their TV as being over the hill and old. And, he went down there with lesser competition. He's old now. No sense in turning the channel over there. Well, in the meantime, Lawler and Piper are 44 and 43 years old, respectively. So, Ted, you yourself are 40 at the time, and these guys are all part of your generation of wrestlers. Like, did you feel like this new generation of guys that was coming up was going to be able to kind of carry the ball in replacement of Hogan, or is it a safer bet to get guys that are established like Jerry Lawler and Roddy Piper in the main event?
Well, at the time, I would say, yeah, you're better off giving the established guys the top of the card, because that generation, and Marcus, and you've heard me say this before, and I hear it from the fans all the time. He says, you guys who were on top and the main guys from the mid 80s to the mid 90s were the last great generation of wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And they say that because the old school way of learning our trade no longer existed. And prior to that time, when you got into wrestling, you went to a territory, and they would start you, and you'd be on the opening match every night with somebody who could lead you. And then gradually, you progress and you start picking it up. But you're wrestling in front of a live crowd every night. That wasn't available anymore. By this time, guys are going to wrestling schools, and yeah, they might wrestle in front of the guys that are also in the school, or what have you. But the real art of the way we learned our trade, that it doesn't exist anymore.
Territories were gone.
Yeah, territories were gone, and that's where you really learned. I mean, that's where I learned. So all those things are, they're gone.
Yeah, it's, I have the benefit of doing podcasts with yourself, Hacksaw, and Jake Roberts, 3 guys who are of that generation, the golden era of wrestling, as they call it.
Yeah.
And so a lot of fans will come to me and tell me that they stopped watching essentially around this time, 1994, as soon as Hulk Hogan bailed. And it's like the new generation of wrestlers in the WWF. Like, a lot of fans pulled away and never returned. So obviously a lot of them stayed, and business now is bigger than it's ever been. But at the time, I think a lot of people were really feeling the loss of, you were no longer an in-ring performer. Jim Duggan was gone. Jake was gone. Hulk Hogan was gone. Like, some of the biggest stars of the previous generation are either no longer wrestling or out of the promotion. So yeah.
Well, and I think if you asked Jake and Hacksaw the same question, they would answer the same way.
Yeah.
The way that we learned our trade no longer existed.
Yep. Okay, guys, it's time to take a break to talk about a sponsor that Ted and I both absolutely love. We are talking about Via, which is a company dedicated to harnessing the natural benefits of hemp to create high-quality wellness products. Guys, let me tell you, whether it comes to setting the mood in the bedroom, chilling out after a long day, trying to enhance your focus, Via has something for you. All right, if you guys are watching right now on YouTube, you can see that I've got this bottle, which is now empty because I've been using it so consistently. It's the Flow State from Via. And this one is a THC-free chewable. And let me say, this product has helped me unbelievably well, which is why it's empty right now. When it comes to having a full plate, that's kind of my daily activity, right? I've always got something to do, whether I'm creating show notes or editing together episodes, doing graphics. There's always something going on. And in this summer heat, I can find it really hard to focus sometimes. So I started using Via's Flow State, and let me say, guys, it helped me to really focus in, get all of my work done, and make myself way more productive throughout the day. Via has got award-winning THC and THC-free gummies, and they have a dosage to encourage your comfort. So no need to block off hours of the day for a really unproductive kind of enhanced state. You can experience the full spectrum of benefits from hemp products with a microdose of THC to help you get a little boost without compromising your responsibilities. Okay, here's another one that I absolutely love. This one is Revive by Via. It's THC free. It's supposed to help to enhance your mood and promote relaxation. And let me say, it works. It's something that I absolutely love. As a matter of fact, I'm going to take one right now. Here's we're recording. There we go. Tastes amazing and gives me the results that I need. Via is also well renowned for their premium indoor THCA flower, soothing topicals, and calming drops. It's all crafted with the highest quality hemp sourced from trusted, independently owned American farms. And guess what? Via legally ships to all 50 states in discreet packaging, right to your door with worry-free guarantee. No medical card required. This is a product that I know you guys are going to love because I can personally tell you that I've been using it and loving it and fully intend to use my own promo code so that I can get more of it. Seriously, you are going to want to give this product a try. It's trusted by over 500,000 happy customers for their wellness needs, and Via is the brand everyone's been raving about. It's not just me, everybody has been enjoying this one. So if you're 21 plus, seriously, go and check out our link to Via's website in our description of this episode for 15% off. And if THC isn't for you, you can still take advantage of their CBD line. And they've got products designed to help with sleep and focus and energy, two of which I can talk to you guys about. The sleep one is great too. I've actually used it. It's called Zen. That's another one that I absolutely love. And it's going to keep you glowing all summer long. By the way, these products range from 0 milligrams to 100 milligrams of THC if that's what you'd like. So you can either microdose or enjoy some more potent effects of this. Not only is the product wonderful, but they also have award-winning service. You can experience their top-notch customer support so that you get the full experience, not just the product, but also some excellent support from their top-notch representatives. It's time, guys. Go and check out that link to Via in our description and use our code EGAP to receive 15% off. Again, the link is going to be found in our description, and all you have to do is use our special code EGAP. You'll get that 15% off, and after your purchase, they're going to ask you where you heard about them. Please do us a big favor, support our show, and tell them that we sent you. Seriously, guys, give this one a try. Enhance your everyday with Via. Well, for your part, Ted, on the next night, there's a Monday Night Raw taping where you make it clear that you'd like to buy the services of Lex Luger. You also are seen scouting both Bam Bam Bigelow and Mabel, and the Observer announces that King Kong Bundy is set to come back to the company. So clearly, Ted, the seeds are being planted for your $1 million corporation stable here. And this is only the third stable ever in the history of the WWF, and we're right at the beginning stages of it. Do you remember being pitched the idea leading to this stable of heels, and what did you think of it?
Yeah, well, I thought it was a great idea. You know, I'm still this heel, this guy who has a stable of heels. I care if you don't like this Viper, I got another one for you.
Yeah, so kind of a good way to capitalize on the $1 Million Man intellectual property. You can't wrestle anymore, but now you've got all these goons that you can send after the baby faces.
Yeah.
You're also trying to secure the services of Lex Luger during this time in another angle that will come to a head at SummerSlam. By this time, the bloom appears to be off the rose with Luger after the WWF failed to capitalize on his momentum following him slamming Yokozuna the year prior. Bruce Pritchard has gone on record as saying that Vince didn't put the belt on Luger because he didn't seem to be over with the audience enough. Ted, in my opinion, I think the WWF should have put the belt on Luger and at least kick the tires on the idea. Give him a shot, see if he can capitalize on his look. But what's your take? Is Bruce right that Lex just wasn't over enough, or should they have given it a try?
No, I agree with Bruce. I really do. And Lex, I love Lex. He's a great guy, but what Lex had this phenomenal body, but in terms of what he could do in the ring, it just, again, he's a guy who came along and was hired because he had this beautiful body, and now we're going to make you a wrestler, it's kind of like, Lex wasn't a guy who grew up all his life wanting to be a wrestler. And that has nothing to do with it. But I mean, if your heart's not really in it, then, what are you doing? And again, I love Lex. Lex was a great guy, brother in Christ for sure now.
Yes.
And he had the look, he had that, but he just didn't have, it's kind of like I've always said, charisma. You've got to have charisma to be in this business, and it's not something that you just acquire. I mean, it's quite frankly, either you have it or you don't, and some people have more of it. I mean, Roddy Piper, you talk about a guy with charisma. Oh my gosh. It was coming out his ears.
Yep.
You know what I mean? He had it.
And Hulk. Hulk was never what you consider a great in-ring worker. He didn't do anything wrong necessarily, and he had his shtick down, but he's not a technician. It makes me wonder, do you think that if Lex Luger had been better on the mic or more charismatic on the mic, that it would have made all the difference for him?
Probably, yeah.
Man. It's I like Lex too. I had the pleasure of hanging out around him during WrestleCon, and just such a sweetheart of a human being.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, you look at those 8x10s and you're like, well, that guy's a superstar, So I don't know. I think there's an argument to be made both ways. Like, hey, look, Hulk is gone. Why not just give it a damn try with this guy?
Yeah.
Well,
again, you've already said it. Hulk had the body. Hulk had the look. But you give Hulk the microphone and Hulk could go.
That is for sure. He was captivating, to say the least. Ted, there's also some sad news at this time, as WWF referee and son of Gorilla Monsoon, Joey Marella, unfortunately is going to pass away in a car accident after apparently falling asleep at the wheel.
Yeah.
Ted, he had been with the company for 11 years at the time of his death. Do you have any memories of Joey?
Joey was good. He was a great guy, and he was fun to be around. He was, Yeah, I mean, again, like all of us, I mean, he grew up in wrestling. His father is Gorilla Monsoon. Joey was a good guy, and he was a great referee.
He was. I hear nothing but good things about Joey from pretty much everybody. I've been fortunate to have a relationship with Mike Chioda over the years, who I know you know also, and he can't say enough good things about Joey.
Yeah.
And how he was as a person and a ref.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ted, we kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, but let's bring it up again. You're going to work 3 consecutive days on shows at the start of July, and it's also announced that you're going to be taking over for Johnny Polo, the future Raven, as the color commentator on All American. At this point, is there any regret on your part coming back to the WWF and their crazy ass schedule, or does that not set in until later when you've got to go on the road with Sid?
Well, that didn't set in, right away. And I liked what I was doing. I liked what I was doing. I was managing, I was commentating, but and again, this is a conversation I should have gone to Vince with, and later, because after WCW and everything, I was gone for a while, and then they had me come back. Remember?
Yeah.
And it was then that I told Vince, and he said, "Ted, you should have come and talked to me." And I said, "Well, Vince, my attitude was, you're a man, you're a businessman, and you're gonna put your people in the places where they're gonna, where they're gonna be the do the best for you, and basically, you're a guy who's it's about the money." And he said, "Well, I appreciate that, but," he said, "if you'd have come and talked to me, we could have arranged something." So anyway.
In your defense, Ted, it's like what an awkward position it is for you to be in. We're going to talk about it here on the show, but like you are featured all over TV at this time. It feels like every segment you are somehow involved with it. And so, you've got other guys who are dying for that spot. They would love to be featured on TV the way that you are. And you're going to come to Vince and complain about it. That's it puts you in a weird position. So like, I can understand why you wouldn't even bother talking to him about your frustration at the time.
Yeah. Well,
numbers are down. Hogan is gone, but it's not all bad news for Vince at this time. On July 23rd, McMahon is going to be found not guilty on supplying illegal steroids to his wrestlers, and I'm sure that comes as a big sigh of relief to everybody behind the scenes, right?
Yeah, and I mean, and again, I mean, I think that was it's like the jury's not still out. I mean, Vince never, I don't think Vince ever encouraged anybody, and he'd been crazy to do that, to get on steroids. I'll tell you, like when I first started with him, all he said to me, he says, "Ted," he said, "you're great in the ring. You got great mic skills." He said, "I just want you to be more visible in the gym." And that's the way he put it. And I said, "You got it." And that was it. He never said, "Hey, I want to get you on steroids and we're going to really muscle you up." Yeah, nothing like that. I just want to see you more visible in the gym. And so I said, "You got it. I'll do it." And I did. And I understood what he meant, because, it's like back in the old days, it wasn't, this was becoming a time where wrestlers were looking more muscular.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like, not like on the cover of Muscle and Fitness magazine necessarily, but, in the old school days, so there were guys like, there was a guy, his name was Tommy Gilbert. He was a great wrestler, but he looked like a stick. It's like, anyway.
Well, yeah, it's like gone were the days of guys who look like Bruiser Bob Sweetan, and even Harley Race, who was like, he was a big scary dude, but he wasn't jacked up and ripped. Like, yeah. Now it was starting to become about presentation and how you look.
Yeah.
It may be even more important at that time than your ring skills.
Yeah.
And you would think if he was going to push anybody to take steroids, it would be this concept that he came up with that he loves so much, the $1 Million Man, and he gave to you. Like, you would think that if he was going to say, like, hey, you better get muscular to anybody, or if he was going to push steroids on anybody, it would be you, because you're like his pet project now is the $1 Million Man. Yeah. So to me, there's probably zero chance that Vince McMahon was encouraging anyone to ever use steroids. But to your point, I'm sure he wanted everybody to get muscular,
Well, yeah, I mean, and it's kind of like, I mean, even Vince, I mean, Vince, you take that suit off of Vince and he looked like he could have been on the cover of Muscle and Fitness magazine.
Yes.
He loved to work out. He had the gym in the office. I think the office is moved now. But yeah, when it was right off of Interstate, 95, right through the middle of Stamford, and then you see the big American flag and the WWE flag under it off to your right if you're going north.
Yeah. In
that office, it could have been a Gold's Gym. I mean, everything, all of the equipment, the machines, the free weight, it was all there. You didn't have to go anywhere else. All you had to do was go to the office and get a great workout.
Ted, I've heard a lot of the boys, describe Vince as being this unstoppable, kind of unflappable, you really can't shake him kind of a force in wrestling.
Yeah.
Was there ever any doubt in your mind that things might go awry and he might end up in federal prison?
That never. I never thought like that. I mean, that's just crazy. I mean, Vince he's a smart guy, and it's kind of like he would be killing himself if he ever encouraged anybody to take steroids.
Mm-hmm.
That's
So to you, it was like the truth was just always going to come out that he never pressured anyone to take steroids.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Ted, in the build-up to SummerSlam, the hunt for the real Undertaker is on, and the WWF is pulling out all the stops. They brought in Leslie Nielsen, and we're going to have a look at one of the skits that they put together with him on his hunt for the Undertaker.
Log, one of the most mysterious superstars of the WWF, is missing, and they've come to me as the one man with the ability and the know-how to find him. The one man, they say, who can track down anything. To locate missing persons requires organization, discipline, intelligence. But the most important thing of all is, Dominic, set it right up. The most important thing of all is never going to work on an empty stomach. Now, that's my pen.
Yes, pizza.
Now put it on the desk.
Oh, it suddenly got colder around here.
That was great.
Yeah, they did a number of those skits with Leslie Nielsen, and pretty entertaining stuff, Ted. 30 years later, what did you think of getting him involved there with the WWF?
Well, yeah, here's what's really funny, Marcus. That's the first time I ever saw that.
Really?
Yep.
Wow. How about that?
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like, because those were, I guess they were, obviously, they would, do them wherever they do it, and they just put it in the show.
Yeah, and you're not watching.
Well, and again, that's the deal. I worked the shows, but I didn't go home and watch the shows. So
yeah, and so it makes sense that you wouldn't be watching a lot of this stuff back. We saw product placement there for Domino's, and we've got Leslie Nielsen here. So Vince is making a lot of moves behind the scenes from a marketing standpoint. He's bringing in a really big Hollywood star, and then of course he's making some money off of Domino sponsorship. So a lot going on here. Now, Ted, were you a fan of Leslie Nielsen?
Sure, who wasn't? But I mean, I wasn't. I didn't see that. I didn't, and I wasn't there when they recorded it.
Now, were you?
That wasn't done. That was done off and or inserted into the show. I mean, Leslie Nielsen wasn't live there.
So Leslie Nielsen and actually actor George Kennedy are going to be live at SummerSlam. Do you remember having any interaction with them or not so much?
No. Maybe to say hello and get introduced. So, but that's about it.
Well, let's get into the event itself. It takes place on August 29th, 1994 in Chicago in front of more than 23,000 fans. Pretty good turnout. And Nielsen and George Kennedy aren't the only celebrities present because none other than NFL legend Walter Payton is ringside for Razor Ramon's match against Diesel. Ted, what can you tell us about Walter Payton and being involved in SummerSlam?
Brother, I tell you what, I thought that was excellent. And just so you know, I knew Walter Payton on a personal level. And even now, I'm very good friends with his younger brother. It was just sad when he passed away. I mean, you talk about, he was probably one of the greatest running backs in the history of the National Football League. And actually, as I'm speaking to you, I'm looking at it. I have a Chicago Bear football helmet signed by Walter.
Wow.
Here in my office. I don't know how much that's worth.
Got to be worth a small fortune.
But I am very close friends with his brother Eddie, and Eddie and I we go to lunch now and then and see each other. Eddie also played football in the NFL, and Eddie was I think he was a kickoff return guy for. I think he played for the Vikings.
I believe you're right.
Yeah, I think he was with the Vikings, but yeah. I've gone on a couple hunting trips back, like deer hunting, back when Walter was still alive. Great guy, just unbelievable football player, but even a nicer guy.
How did you get to know Walter personally?
Well, I mean, they live here. They live in Jackson, Mississippi.
Ah, okay.
They're from Mississippi. And like I said, even now, every now and then, I'll get a call from Eddie, or I'll call Eddie and I say, man, let's go break bread, get caught up. And then we will. So
that's awesome, man. And having a guy like that there in Chicago for SummerSlam, it adds a lot of value to the product. So never a bad thing to get somebody like Walter Payton involved.
Yeah.
Well, Ted, the real star of the show, we've got Leslie Nielsen there. We've got George Kennedy there. We've got Walter Payton there. But the real star of the show appears to be you during this event because you are featured all over this pay-per-view. You're getting involved as a manager during a match between Bam Bam and IRS versus the Head Shrinkers. During Lex Luger's match with Tatanka, you'll go out and provide a distraction so Tatanka can do a heel turn and join your $1 million corporation. And, of course, you're heavily involved in the Undertaker versus Undertaker match. It had to feel pretty good for you, Ted, to be getting figured in so heavily during one of the biggest shows of the year, huh?
Well, actually at the time, you don't think about that. You're so busy, just go do what you need to do and get it done. So, I didn't really have time to consider how often I was on the show. I never looked at it that way. If they want me on once or twice, or they do what you need to do. I'm here.
Man, you're in a hell of a good spot at this time. It's certainly building yourself as like one of the top heels still in the company, and you're not even stepping into the ring. You're one of the most hated guys on the roster, so it's a good spot. Now, unfortunately, the Undertaker versus Undertaker match does not go over great. The real Undertaker gets the win, of course, and you'd run out of the arena, so the fans get what they want. But here's what the Observer had to say about the match itself. One guy in ultra slow motion has limitations. Two guys doing it kills the match. It didn't help that Lee seemed to be lost in the ring and that the two didn't look enough alike, and the size difference was noticeable. It was as if everyone knew the ending once Calloway showed up. No heat at all. Even McMahon had to acknowledge it, trying to get over that the crowd was stunned into silence. But there was no tension in the air, so it was dull silence, not stunned silence. Ted, what do you think of that assessment? Would you agree with it?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. It's kind of like, I mean, it ended up being it was what it was, and again, it's kind of like when you think about Undertaker. I mean, the real Undertaker. Mark's a great guy, but when you got two guys out there in a match that have to move in slow motion,
Yeah.
it's like, when Mark was wrestling a regular opponent, his opponent was not moving in slow motion. He was, and how he did that's the other thing. The fact that he could do that the way he did it, made the difference in the match.
Made him a really kind of like a rare figure and personality in wrestling. But yeah, it's two guys doing that. Like, who's taking the bumps? You know what I mean? Like, it's just it adds confusion, not value to the product, right?
Yeah.
Well, we're glad to be adding value here week after week on Everybody's Got a Pod. That's going to wrap us up this time around. And next week, we're going to continue the fun. In the meantime, I'd love to have you guys go over to OneTrueSportTV.com and check out our membership tiers there. You've got to become a traveling champion over there. There's a ton of perks. Plus, we get exclusive Q&As. First, we had Dustin Rhodes do one. This past month, we brought Greg Gagne on, and he told some great stories. As a matter of fact, we talked about his father wrestling Ted's father in amateur wrestling, which is really cool. And we've got other big surprises here coming up. So get over there. It's just $39.99 per month to become a traveling champion with One True Sport. So get over there, get subscribed, and start enjoying all those perks. I also want to remind you guys to get over to OneTrueSport.com. So you can become a member at One True Sport TV. But if you want new Ted DiBiase merch, you got to get over to OneTrueSport.com. We just released a Big Cheese shirt for Ted, looking back at his time as the Big Cheese in Mid-South. It's the first piece of merch for that period of time ever made. And we've got a Ted in Japan shirt that we just made, which is one of the coolest shirts that I think we produced. As a matter of fact, I think when I would buy one myself and wear it around. So, guys, you've got to get over there and check out the options. We've signed a bunch of talent, and we've got a bunch more coming on. It's OneTrueSport.com. Dad, I can't thank you enough for recording with me today. It's always a pleasure to get to pick your brain, even if it is during a period of time in the WWF that maybe wasn't exactly favorably looked upon.
Hey, you know what? When you're a heel, you're a heel.
You had the benefit of wanting a negative reaction.
I always say, everybody's got a price for the $1 Million Man.
Catch you guys next time right here on Everybody's Got a Pod.
$1 million dream, tell them all good night. Everybody's got a pod, everybody's got a